All right, hit it. Because we're now recording.
Okay, cool. To start with, I would love to thank Daniel and team for giving me this opportunity to speak in the user group again. It is really nice. The only unfortunate part is I'm not there in person.
Better worse.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, no, we're good. We're just organizing.
Okay. Yeah, that's the part. So sorry, I'm not there. So it's just a little bit hard for you guys to cope up with, the speakers and the videos and whatever. So starting with the topic, the virtual assistants have been around for some time now. I don't know how many of you guys have used or created them. But I suppose you guys have played with bots before. So let me ask a quick one. How many of you guys have played with bots or created bots or tested them before? Okay,
got a handful.
That's good. That's good. That means that you guys are interested in doing it. But the people who have not tried it yet, I would say after this session, I suppose you guys should go at least try a bot. It's not that difficult anymore. It's very easy. And even if you are really not a dev, I would say go to Power Virtual Agent, and there you can just create bots with click. It's in public preview, so no production one yet, but at least you can play with it. But saying that, virtual assistants are the next step in bots. Okay, before I go ahead and talk more about it, let's get a little bit more about me. So in different languages, I don't know if I can say everything, but it is hello, hola, namaste, ni hao. So that's how I position myself as a multilingual person. I cannot speak Chinese though, or Spanish. But what I mean is, it just makes me really passionate that actually I'm living in a multicultural world. I get to know more people. I get to learn new things, and that's what keeps me going. So I'm a tech lover and enthusiast. I do a lot of talks, do a lot of sessions. I run a meetup here in Sydney. Um, we just had a session in the morning where we talked about no code, low code, which was kind of a great session. I have been building solutions for 14 plus years, and that's what I love to do on a day in, day out. I'm an architect, developer, Azure, AI, and a lot of things. So I'm kind of spreading into multiple areas, but saying that, that gives me kind of depth of information, which kind of love it. As I always say, you dream it and you believe it, and next thing is you build it. So those are the three mottos I always work on, and that's a little bit about me. So let's go to the next item. So what are we talking today? So we will go quickly about Microsoft Teams and bots so that we got to know what it is about. It will be a good startup for people who have not tested it. Then we'll talk about virtual assistant. Why virtual assistant? What does it mean to have virtual assistant? Why does it need? Why does the organization need a virtual assistant? And then we'll have a quick demo. I've outlined few scenarios. There was a big glitch this time that I cannot get it working on Teams with authentication. They had upgraded broad framework from December. I did a AI bootcamp talk in December. It was all good. It worked great. And they have upgraded in January, and nothing is working on Teams anymore with the authentication module. So that's the kind of world we live in. So saying that, that's always a good challenge for me. So I will get it working, but unfortunately could not get it working today. So we'll look at what I have. Then we'll talk about components, templates, some of the design flows, some skills, some use cases that you can use it really. Cool. So let's look at teams and bots as such. So now on the right-hand side, I don't know if you guys can see my Zoom. If I can zoom, can I zoom?
Yeah. Now we can see it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if you look at this, so it kind of outlines the different components that you get in a bot. Now, saying that not everything is of interest, people are mostly living here. So there's a user who gives a request, he gets a reply, the team says interface. Basically, there's a bot engine on the back, which actually talks to Azure workload, which has a bunch of stuff. Lewis, which is the language interpreter, and then the app service, which sits on the back. Now, why it is important is for people who are actually going in costing them. So if you're a PCS architect, if you're an architect like me, who actually starts with the initial build of the solution and you have to go and convince your stakeholders, that's when it becomes important that let people know what it takes, what are the things. And it's sometimes it's a ball game of making them understand why it is needed. But once you do that, it's quite easy. Cool. So bots as such are code running an Azure App Service, listening to team events. They use cognitive services like Lewis, Q&A Maker, Image, and Speech. So these are so there are actually 5 or 6 core cognitive services, but saying that these are the most real scenarios I've seen people using it for. There could be other scenarios where you use Azure Search, but I don't know how many people are spending money and energy on it. The responses of the responses of the bots bots are fed back to the channels through the Teams app. So you actually have apps sitting on Teams that does the work on the backend. Okay, before I head off, any questions? To the next.
Questions? Anything that's unclear is so far?
Okay.
No, we're all good.
Okay, cool. That pretty much means that you guys got it. That's good. That means that you guys know a bot at least. So that's the first step. Now let's talk about virtual assistants. Now, what's the concept of a virtual assistant? Now, I'm not going to talk Microsoft speak. Everybody can do Microsoft speak, I think, because you just go and sell stuff, sell the vision. But what I do talk about is practical scenarios. Why do you actually think of a use of a virtual assistant? What is the real purpose of a virtual assistant, and why would really an organization need one? So let's start with the context that you have numerous bots that are doing numerous stuff for organization, and there are organizations who are mature enough to do it right now. So you have numerous bots that sit out there and do different stuff. So people have to go and at the rate mention them or invoke them and tell them every time. So they have to know what the bot is, and they have to go and interface with them. So that they have to get some technical knowledge then, which kind of makes it hard. So for example, you want to collate all of them and now build out a single interface where people don't need to worry what the bot is. Like very good scenarios, Windows. Talk about Windows Cortana. You don't actually really need to worry Cortana where the data is coming from. You just go to Cortana and say like, hey, can you give me this? And Cortana just sits there, goes and pulls the data from the right source, does the work for you. Easy, right? Easy step process. Similarly, virtual assistants are going to facilitate that. It actually is going to have a single interface for your cumulative bots experience. Saying that it is still a conversational assistant that sits and across broad range of applications. It's not going to, it can do speech, yes, but it is still conversation. You still have a back and forth going through it. It is personalized to your user and brand. So basically, it's not something that Microsoft created for you and you are going to use it. It's something that you can customize it as per your brand, as per your kind of user needs. So that kind of gives you that personalization factor that people can tie up to. It is extensible with skills. Now we'll look at skills a little bit more in depth later, but what are skills is think of like abilities of your bot. So your bot can do the X, a bot can do Y, and bot can do Z. It's a great starting point with templates. Now, Microsoft realized as they were building bots that people have hard time doing this every time from scratch. Somebody has to go and learn this. And if there is a handover, the new person comes and he has to learn it again. So what Microsoft did, they took all their experiences and built a template out of it, which gives us a good starting point for anybody, even a dev, to look at it and go and say, okay, these are the 5 things I want. I will just go ahead and use it. And in the demo, as I will show you, I actually have a calendar skill, an email skill, which were built from templates. I have a virtual assistant built from template. I didn't write a single line of code to build them. And it took me like roughly, I could say a day, because every time you go and set it up, it takes some time, but it didn't take me 4 days that it used to take me before. Yeah. So now let's come to the real business purpose and like what is the core requirements for a business organization or organization to use it. First of all is business ownership. Users who have built a broad level of knowledge base already, they don't have to lose it. You can just go in and consume it. For example, people come to me and say like, hey, do I make a Q&A for all my learning or training information? No, you don't need to. If you have a workday setup, if you have a LMS system set up, the cognitive services are kind of capable enough to go and read those. So you can pretty much use your own knowledge base. You don't have to go and create a new one every time. Get information specific to your business requirements. So you don't have to go and tweak everything to make it work for your team. But no, actually go and make something that actually works for your team. It's made for your team. Create a map of existing data with the business needs. So the business owns the data, the technical team, the IT, or nobody needs to go and get that ownership from them. Next is custom abilities. As I was talking to you about skills, basically what it means is you can extend your virtual assistant and get those abilities attached to it. So you have your processes that are doing stuff already. You don't need to change them. Just go and tag into them. Skills and abilities as per requirement. Uh, you can do automated prompts, activity tracking. Those are like, I think those are the next level. Once you have a bot or a virtual assistant in your team for some time, you can look at those things. You can create custom flows that actually tie up to your business processes with virtual agents or power virtual agents or flow or anything. You can actually tie those business kind of processes into the virtual assistant. There's a good starting point for you. So it's not a final goal. It's not a final solution. What it means is it's a good step forward from what you have been doing for ages right now. So if you are new to this, don't worry, everybody is new. No, so I think this is the right time to step into it. If you have the time and energy or the thought of improving this in another 6 months, I would say start now. Obviously things are changing, but you get a head start because you don't need to train them every time. Start with existing templates, focus on combination of services and strength. Now, what it means is you have a kind of a service and you have a kind of business knowledge and attribute that goes with the service. So try to combine them together. Don't try to create every time things from the scratch. So combine them. Build and extend as you go. So start with a easy, simple solution that you can use and actually gives you the purpose of using it, and then go and extend it. Don't try to do everything on one go. It may not work. From my experience of doing this for at least 2 years now, I have not seen bots or virtual assistants flying off with one great goal. You always start with something very simple. People start using it, they give feedback, you take it and you purpose it and improve it. Cool. Before I go to the next one, are there any questions on this? Thoughts? Anything?
No, we're all good.
Cool. Great. So now let's talk about the flow of how do you go about building it? What are the key components that we need to look at? Skills. Those are the core of a virtual assistant. That's what makes it a real powerful tool. So you need to work on skills. You need to work on channels. You need to work on access points like Teams, email, web. Which ones are going to be used by people most? Knowledge sources. What are the knowledge sources? What are document repositories? Do you have a SharePoint library? Do you have a LMS system? Do you have SAP systems that you want to talk to? Line of business applications, CRM, employee systems. Try to make a collated information of all that. Cognitive services. What are you going to use? And that makes it a little bit of more of a gist of what you are going to provide the intelligence for. So next is architecture. I think I'll jump onto this, but before that, let me start with the demo because I suppose this will all start making sense once we start looking at it. Because as we are talking through this, we don't exactly know what it looks like. So let me go ahead and stop sharing. Share.
Is anyone using bots or Lewis or any of that sort of lovely stuff? Certainly worthwhile. I mean, in the past, I've used a bot to go and tag photos. So if you've got 1,000 photos, use a bot to go and process all those photos. So the scenario was we had a client, whole bunch of photos. They didn't want to go in their tag because 10,000 files too much. Get an AI, run it across it, get some common terms, get some common tags set. So at least that base work is done. So you've got a little bit of smarts. And Lewis is, forget what it stands for, but long story short, it's the natural language interpreter. Language something. Maybe Ashish will be able to. You remember what Lewis stands for? No, you're muted.
Come on. Yeah, language understanding intelligence system.
So,
yeah,
stands more or understands more human than code to a degree. But yeah, that's the cognitive services. But I'll hand back over to you. I was just talking about that while we swapped over.
Yeah, cool. No props. So let's look at the demo for a bot in Teams. Now, this one I was trying to make it work with. No, my system has been really slow on this one. Why? Because I think Teams just uses a lot of RAM or memory or something, and just it slows down my system on this one. But yeah, I think it will go up. So yeah, good. Maybe I should open this one. Yeah. So as you can see, it's nothing but a chat interface as we are looking at it. So I have been doing a lot of testing, going around and looking at stuff and doing it. But when you start with this, it doesn't have a lot of stuff. It just says like, hey, how are you? Is there anything you want to use? I think it will take time for the member to load, but I can just start with a simple hello. And when I say hello, and this is the normal experience with the bot. So it's nothing but a bot which has more things attached to it. So I think the engine on the back will take some time to fire up. And when it's fire up, it just says that I'm replying. And I'll give you guys an idea of the cost and how much you have to pay for this so you can get it working. Because the interface is not that powerful because I've used the test interface. It just, that powerful. So, yep. Oh, wait. Oh, maybe it's trying to do an email because I think I left it on the email one. So, okay, so this is the thing with the bot framework v4. It keeps a context. So it keeps the context of what you had talked to it. So for example, you were doing something and you left it in between and went and started doing something else. You come back, it knows what you have been doing. With the bot framework v3, it was always a new conversation, new stuff. So this is kind of good, but people like me, they forget what they were doing earlier. So let's start with, so what I have done is I have changed my Q&A to give a more personalized feel. So the bot will introduce yourself. I think in the AI bootcamp, I had a speaker session, so it could speak, but right now they have kind of removed that functionality. So I'm trying to get it back. Could not do it for this demo, but maybe in future, and I'll blog about it. But as you guys can see, I said, please introduce yourself. And it went ahead and said, hi, I'm Mike Cortana, I'll personalize virtual assistant. This is not something that came with the virtual assistant itself. This is what I programmed when the Q&A maker was ready. So I went ahead and trained it, and I'll show you guys how easy it is. It's very easy, 2 steps, and you are ready. So basically, you can let the bot be personalized to you. So as you said, please introduce yourself. I didn't say Mike Cortana or anything. I just said, please introduce yourself. It understood it's yourself. So it went ahead and introduced. And I can ask general questions like, what is a skill? And that is what Microsoft has already programmed. So it will, when I ask this question, it will go ahead and answer that. It will say, hey, bot framework skills are this. It can be integrated virtual assistant. You can learn more by visiting here. So these are kind of the things. So this is a conversational medium where you ask some question, it comes back with an answer. Now, in some cases, it's really smart. It is more smarter than it is. Sorry, man. I think it is smart, but it's still a bot. So sometimes I get even surprised that I could program so much. So now I have to switch back because I could not get that working in Teams. So I'll show you guys the demo on the web interface of the bot, and we'll see that how it works. So this is my bot, the same bot in the web interface. Now I want to see my recent emails. Now I'm just a little bit lazy more than ever. I don't want to go and open Outlook. I want to just see my latest email. So I'll say so most recent email. Now, because it knows who I am, now obviously the web interface does not know who I am. So mostly it will try to log me in. But if I've logged in before, it knows who I am, and it will just go ahead and fetch my most recent email. And again, this one, I didn't write a single line of code. It came from a template. So as you can see, it got 2 messages from my inbox, and it says like, do you want more detail of the first email? Yes, I say yes. I want to see more about it. So I can just say yes. And when you say yes, it will get more details. Now, I can show you guys that's really the case. It's not something I've fabricated. This is not something I mocked it up. It's really coming from my inbox. So it's going and looking at the inbox and it's fetching what the latest is. Do you want to go to the overview? Yes, I want to go back to the overview, so I can go back and forth. So this, as you can see, it has the context of what you are talking, so it can actually go and refer back to the earlier history. And I'll show you guys very soon how it is done, because there is a storage on the back, Cosmos DB, which is actually storing the data of the bot. Oh yeah, there you go. You can read this email, but let's see if it can read actually. My speaker is on, so let's see. Yes. Can you read it? No, cannot. Obviously cannot read because there are this 101, but okay, doesn't do anything. Anyways, let's go back. So I can cancel the event. Now I want to go ahead. Let me show you the login experience. So I can say log out. So when I log out, basically it has signed out me. Now I want to do some calendar skill. Let's say I want to see what events. So I can say what meetings do I have today? And basically you don't need to type always. If you have your, your speech set up and you have your teams can actually type as you speak. So it can do speaking and you can just type through it, or speech to text is also there. Your bot can do speech to text. So you can just let people speak to it. That's another cool one, which is not working again. I did demo it in the AI bootcamp. Okay, let's try. Maybe the calendar skill has gone to a sleep, so it will take time to wake up. You don't have any event scheduled. What? Something went wrong. Okay, that what it went wrong. What meetings do I have today? And again, there is quota. So some of the things I'm using is in the free version. The free versions have quotas of like, oh, okay, what meetings I have tomorrow. Okay, so only tomorrow then. I'm pretty sure there is, but I think it's working on the US time zone. So it's like, oh, it's already midnight. Nothing is there. Okay, there you go. So actually, it is now working with the US time zone, and this is a bug. So I have to go and fix. But basically, it's showing my schedule for the next day. So if I go to my Teams, if I open my calendar, it should have this pretty much. So it's just working on a different time zone because it's on the web, and the web actually taking because some of the hosting is West US. So it's taking the US time zone and saying that, hey, you don't have anything. So as you can see, I have some meetings scheduled. So this is my demo tenancy, so obviously not real. And they can just read the details of the first event. It can show more stuff. So as you guys can see, this is basically a virtual assistant that has 2 skills, like calendar and email skill, and it's connected to multiple interfaces and getting the data. And I can show you the skills itself. So as you can see, this is the email skill. This is the skill that is called by the virtual assistant. So basically, a skill is nothing but a bot that just sits and lives in a separate world, but can be invoked and connected to your virtual assistant. So basically, like spokes. Yeah, so basically these are the interfaces. Now let's look at Lewis. And I was just saying that you can program and create your own bases. So basically, this is the language understanding component of it, which actually has all the matches. So I don't know how many people have worked with Lewis before. Can I have some hands? Like how many people have worked with Lewis or cognitive services before?
Been working with Lewis? No, we're not getting many hands.
Okay, so what is Lewis is nothing but, okay, so think in Lewis in a way like it's like a speech or text interpreter. So if I go to one of those headers, so if I go to, like, say this one, I'll show you something that is pre-built. Actually go to the other one because that has more utterances. So let's go to one of these. And so basically you actually have a AI engine sitting on the back, which does nothing but actually maps what user is saying to a command. that the system will understand is actually, that's called an intent. So basically, if I say, hey, how are you? My intent is greeting. So I can say, hey, how are you? Howdy. How are you going? How are you faring? All those kind of stunts, which is called utterances, list them in this Lewis interface and say that is my intent. So when I do that, basically what it does, it trains itself to understand that these are the various combinations of people's questions or greetings. And when somebody says the similar stuff, it does a probability. So if I want to go and test something like this, I can say, for example, this is the calendar skill. So I say, what meeting do I have tomorrow? So when I do that, as you can see, it just maps to the skill because that's the intent that has it mapped to. If I had said something else, like for example, test your voice, it's a chit chat. As you can see, this is not a calendar skill. It's a chit chat skill. So if I go back, there is a skill or intent called chit chat. If I go to dispatch, sorry, and you can see queue chit chat, that's another intent. So when I said that, it pretty much matched to this intent, which is like, okay, you are actually trying to get information for this command. So what Lewis does in the backend is it gets inputs like plain text that user have given and try to maps it to an intent. And that's how it kind of understands what the bot needs to do. And in the code, basically what you have done is said that if this is the intent, go and do this. That's the simple logic. So you can train your Lewis to multiple stuff. And this is something you can give even to your business users, like your data analyst or something. Let them go in and train you. So you create an intent, give them, and they can train. And also you can train on the run. So if I had asked a question, for example, that this doesn't have in the database, you can actually go and map it. So for example, let me do this. I can go and say, can somebody tell me how you do look for your calendar anytime, like something in a way that is very, very sluggish or something, and you will not have. So let's say, what's up with my day? Okay, so this is something I can say or a user can say, right? So what's up with my day? And basically it has gone and listened to it, but it doesn't know what it means. So I suppose it will come back and say, hey, I don't understand what you're asking me to do. And again, it has slept, I think. Network. Yep, failed. Okay, to try. Having some network issues, I suppose. Yep. So, oh, it understood. You don't have, so nothing to train. Oh, no, what? Okay. Don't know what happened. Maybe try cancel and start it again. Maybe that's what. What's up with my day tomorrow? Let's see if we can understand that. Then basically, wow, I don't need to. Just standing by ready to help. So actually, it didn't understand what it meant. So I can go to Lewis, and if I go to this endpoint, it will have, I suppose, the utterances that were not kind of matched to anything. So there you go. WhatsApp, what meetings do I have? It didn't understand what it had to do. It thought that it is a chit chat, and this is like an entity it was trying to map to. So I can just go ahead and say, this is not an entity actually. I can say none. I think this would be none. Remove label. Yep. From date. Oh yeah, that's fine. What's up with my day tomorrow? That's fine. And I can say it's a calendar skill. Okay. So now I'm actually going and saying this is how you should interpret it. The calendar skill is 0.359, but when I train it, it will become better. So I say add. Now you see this one became red. Now I have to go and train it because it needs to understand what's that. Takes time a little bit to train, but not always too much. So, okay, while it is training, okay, because it has got to train for 18 because there are a lot of stuff. We'll switch on to Q&A maker very quickly, and we'll look at the FAQs and chit chat. So I was talking about personalizing the answer. So how do you do is you get a Q&A. So what is Q&A maker? Q&A maker is nothing but a wiki repository. So it's like a kind of document repository which has all the questions and the answers. So if I go and open my FAQ, which is kind of weird with the new one. So you saw FAQ and chit chat. That was the old version. That was the December version. Now in the newer version, they are saying my Cortana 1, my Cortana 2. Which one is the FAQ? Which one is the chit chat? Anyways, so they have a database for FAQ, which is like question and answers. So I can say, what's your virtual assistant? What is the skill? And this is my new training one, which I said, introduce my Cortana. I've given a different type of questions that a user can ask. So please introduce yourself. And this is the answer. Simple. So basically, this is very Q&A is very aligned to service desk kind of scenario. So if you have a bot where you want service desk people to come and, well, not service desk, but basically you want a bot to be an interface for your level 1 service desk, you can actually have a Q&A base with all the questions. And basically that kind of aligns with the level 1 kind of support where people can get information very quickly. They don't have to go and call service desk or raise a ticket. It kind of helps with the service desk scenario very well. So I have a question, I can map it. This is kind of a header, so you can talk about it. And then there is the answer. So basically I wrote answer, and you can have follow-up prompts. You can have more questions that follow up that. You can do that, and you basically save and train. And that's it. Once you save and train, you publish, you save and train, and then you publish, is then is available to the bot interface. So now coming back, we have trained it. Now let's go ahead and test it. Let's say, what's up with my day tomorrow? Now it should match with the calendar skill. There you go. And now it's matched with my calendar skill. So now I can go and publish. I'll go and choose which interface it should go. Now if I go back to my bot and say, what's with my day tomorrow? Now it should understand that actually I have to go and fetch the events for tomorrow. And hopefully it will do that correctly. Demo gods. You have 6 events planned for tomorrow. So you guys can clap. Okay, no, it's fine. So, no, it's fine. I know it's just mesmerizing, right? You are completely lost now. It's like, oh, how did this happen? Yeah.
Is everyone understanding Lewis and how it maps with the text, and then how you map it through to actions and events? Yep, cool.
Oh, good. I'm becoming better day by day, I think. So, yeah, so it's a little bit hard to get the grabs until you do it. I would say if you guys really have a tendency set up and everything, go and jump onto au.lewis.ai today and register yourself. Try. You need Azure instance though. So run after manager if you don't have one. Get it. If you have Visual Studio, you get a free Visual Studio credit. So go ahead and use it. Anyways, so it's good to play with it. Try to play with it because that will give you more understanding. The Q&A maker is kind of a handy thing. Can you go? No, you don't. Oh yeah, it goes. Okay, so Lewis is very handy. Q&A maker is very handy where you can actually try. And this one, I didn't set up anything. It was very simple. It's very easy. Want to show you guys how to do it. So we'll look at this one. It's called Virtual Assistant.
We might have to make this the last bit. We're just pushing up against the clock here to 5 o'clock.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh shit. Okay.
Stay free to, but I know we're all busy people, so.
Yep. Okay. I'll think I will go with just okay. I'll just go with the final slides so you guys can. But I will be posting this information in blogs very soon, so you guys can go ahead and look at it later. Where is my session?
We are recording today's session, so you'll be able to go back over it as well. So.
Yeah, I could not just show the virtual assistant creation how easy it is, but yeah, that's fine. But again, if you go to that URL, it's there in the presentation. Pretty much it's step by step. First time, actually, I am recommending people to go to the Microsoft documents. Otherwise, I would always have a blog to support or make people understand what it means. But this time they have done some good work. So virtual assistant, you can just directly go and see from there. Yeah. So this is basically the architecture of virtual assistant. You have a content moderator for people who like slangs or something like, they say stuff that you should not want your system to record. Your content moderator is there, which prevents and filters those out. Your telemetry kind of is good for logging, so you can see what's going on. Your virtual assistant sits on the top. There is a dispatch agent. What dispatch agent does is it actually maps multiple skills to one. Then you have your skills, which actually does the work. And then you have Lewis and Q&A and any other custom skills to support it. So basically, that's the whole architecture of how a virtual assistant works. It has 4 or 5 components that make it work better. Cool. So this is how you go about building a virtual assistant. You define, then you build, and you deploy. And this is basically from Microsoft directly. This shows how the virtual assistants are connected to each other. So you can take a look. It's pretty much what I was talking: skills, knowledge sources, user inputs, everything. But this is how I would recommend building it. Don't go about just building everything at once. You'll have challenges as you go. The next one is the demo, which we did. Now, skills, talking about skills have multiple. There are a few examples that you can go and look at. Email skill, to-do skill, calendar skills. Microsoft has opened it up. You can go and use it. These skills are nothing but add-ons that you
Can you develop your own skills?
Yes, you can. And there is a skills template for it. So basically with the link that I have, when you go there, there is a virtual assistant template and skills template. You can download it. If you are a C# developer, you can use it with Visual Studio. If you are a Node.js developer, you can go ahead and use it with NPM. So you can just start from scratch. Oh, sorry, not scratch, sorry. You start from a starting point. So yes, you
So
can.
with that note, could we say develop a skill to log or interact with our billing or finance system or provisioning system or something like that?
Yep.
Have you got any other line of business applications you can integrate them?
Yep, yes, everything, right? So that's what the beauty of virtual assistant are. You can actually have your virtual assistant sitting there. There's no change for the business users. They still use the same one. You can go and create a custom skill, and as this slide talks about, you can go and have existing bot even, or you can have something else that can connect. You can take that bot and connect it to your virtual assistant, and there you go, done. So you can have any kind of, well, you have to build those line of business application interfaces because you still have that business logic to build. But once you have done that, you connect your bot with the API layer or something, done, easy.
That's definitely a takeaway if you've got line of business systems that you're looking potentially for some Lewis integration or bots or stuff, that it's just not confined to the O365 container. It can breach that boundary and go, hey, for example, let's make an extension or a custom skill that only works with MyOb. So there's nothing O365 that talks to MyOb, but we could develop a custom, or you could develop a custom skill to go in there and talk to your MyOb system. So you go, what date did I send invoice X on, and off it goes.
Yeah, and actually people have done some smart things. Like in my previous client, we did a zero interface. So basically the zero, kind of submissions, people do it on Teams. They have a task module, they enter the data, submit it, goes. The bot actually submits it to zero, gets approval done and everything. So easy. So that on that point, there is a CLI tool even. So there is a command line interface. So people who are really tech savvy can actually use this to do queries and everything. They don't have to go and build a solution always. The next slide kind of talks about some of the use cases. And as you rightly were mentioning, Daniel, these are some of the other things that you can do. You can have a customer service request portal. You have a planner and an organizer built, and go to help. That's the first thing I see a lot of businesses using and getting that initial traction. So go to help has been a lot of challenge with teams, or where you go and find information, training and everything. Go and create a quick bot, go to help, Q&A maker, done. That's it. And you can use it for any business purpose that you have. But basically you have a single routing interface and automated learning. Cool. Some of the things to know, virtual assistant. So I could not show you guys the costing, but it is costing me daily, I think around 20 Australian dollars with the basic hosting. It goes around in Cosmos DB, Azure Search, Q&A Maker, Lewis, and App Service. So it the template kind of uses the service S1s for everything. So S1s are costly because they have $30 monthly for each one. So kind of costs you that much in together. So it will cost you about $400 or $500 per month if you don't customize it. So first thing I'll say, when you download the template, go to template.json and customize it. Now, there is obviously challenges if you are trying to do it multiple free tiers. I have faced a challenge. It was not a challenge before, but when I was trying to customize and do it now, it kind of prevents me from doing it. It says that you cannot have two S1s or two F1s because your content moderator can only have one. So Microsoft is kind of canning it down, but saying that you can always have one free version that you can try. You can quickly train Q&A and Lewis and play with them, activate Lewis to assign. This is the key step. So if you have never used Lewis before, you have to provide an authoring key and you have to activate it. So once you go and log in, it gives you some steps to do that. And identify the load and the cost that you are going to pay for Azure Search and everything. This one is costly, so yeah, plan for it. Skills dialog, again, the custom prompts, deploy a skill to virtual assistant with the bot emulator. So I didn't get a chance to show you guys, but there is a bot emulator which allows you to try the bots before you deploy it. And it's like a local interface that you can launch, and you can use ngrok or something to plug into your bot running and let them try with it. Don't make too heavy. Okay, this is a key thing. What I have seen is people try to do everything with one skill. Don't do that. It's not needed. Skills should be very, very precise. One thing, like calendar skill and email skill could have been one. No, we divided it because you can extend them too much. So make it simple, keep it light. Create granular independent skills. So create smaller ones. Direct line speech, as I was saying, you can let it, talk to each other. These are some of the links. As I was saying, this is the link that I was mentioning earlier. So if you click, that kind of gives you a quick rundown of the virtual assistant. And there is another link here. If you click on this one, it takes you to the more technical stuff, and it gives you the step-by-step approach of how to create a bot. And there's you can actually go ahead and download, install. It has everything. You just, even if you don't listen to me, just go and follow this, you are done. But obviously you need to listen to me to know what it means. But once you have got the understanding of what it means, you can go and follow that guide. Just do it easily. And there are template links and everything. Skills, same thing, step-by-step approach. You can do that, and it shows how to connect to teams and everything. Sample skills repo. So there is a skills repo where you can go and download stuff and do it. Microsoft has given us with the bot builder. You can create a virtual assistant with this. There is a step-by-step approach. Create skill also has a step-by-step approach, and there will be a few blogs that I'll be writing and sharing very soon with more practical scenarios. Yeah, I think that's all from me today. Sorry for speeding the last part. I wanted to spend more time showing you guys stuff, but yeah,
it's also us. We took up some time trying to get the equipment ready, so apologies for that.
Fine.
But thank you, Asish. It's very much appreciated. Work with virtual assistants and bots and Lewis and cognitive services. Feel free to contact Asish. He's not some secret I'm keeping up my sleeve. He's located you're in Sydney, not Canberra, aren't you?
No, I'm in Sydney, but yes, I'm connectable through LinkedIn or Twitter. If you guys go ahead and connect me on LinkedIn or Twitter, drop me a question. Always happy to answer those. I was just actually talking to another guy in the morning. There's a guy who reached out from US Microsoft. He was doing something with audits and everything, like O365 audit log. I have a code shared in my GitHub, which actually tells you how you can take audit log and dump it on Azure Table or Splunk. He was connecting me from US. I was really excited to help him. So please, if you guys have any questions, stuff, connect me on LinkedIn. The links are there, so do that. Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Yeah. No, cool. So thank you very much, Asish, for the presentation. It's greatly appreciated, and apologies for the delay in getting underway. We do have